as an ambassador for Optimum Nutrition. It coincides with the extension of Optimum Nutrition as the official sports nutrition partner of Leinster Rugby for the next 3 years. For more info, you can check out Optimum Nutrition on Instagram. Hugo Keenan, how are you getting on?
I'm good, Will. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Oh, it's great to have you. I mean, it's this kind of unusual circumstance where pre-season has started a little bit earlier than normal with the Ireland camp at the moment, but I'm sure you're just delighted to be in camp getting ready for this World Cup now.
Exactly, yeah, it's an exciting time for us. So we've had a good 2-week block. It's been tough, it's been intense, but enjoyable as well. And I think all the lads are sort of glad to be back in training, and there's a good buzz around the place now.
In some ways, is it helpful after a disappointing end to the season with Leinster, with the way the URC went, and then the disappointment of the Champions Cup final, to be able to refocus so quickly on international duty afterwards?
Yeah, it's definitely a positive, I suppose. You have that lingering defeat sort of staying there for a bit of the holidays, but you can't dwell on it too much. And I suppose the best way to get back into it and to get over it is to get back training and playing a bit of rugby. So I think all the lads were sick of the holidays and glad to be back in and enjoying it.
Yeah, look, it's a particularly frustrating end to the season when it's home soil for a European final, second year in a row. Last year, you're a minute away from winning the final against La Rochelle and Marseille. This time round, potentially one player, a refereeing decision away. It could have been 2 European Cups as opposed to coming away with nothing for the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, it's hugely disappointing. Like, it's probably something that 4 weeks of holidays doesn't just wipe. It'll probably be lingering there for a bit now, but you just have to use it as a positive and as a motivation to go on now. I think, last year's defeat against La Rochelle, I think it drove us to go on to bigger and better things against New Zealand in that series win, and into the Six Nations Grand Slam win as well. So I think a lot of us Leinster lads here are taking that mentality, using that disappointment to motivate us, to push us on a bit more, to prepare well over the next couple of weeks into an exciting World Cup.
Well, when we talk about resilience and motivation, your own story, given the picture I think emerged around the time that you were getting your first cap for Ireland, that you had been involved with the C team at junior level with Blackrock College. You end up on the senior first team when you win the championship in 2014. But in that couple of years between your junior cert and senior cycle, you bring yourself up from, I believe at one point being captain of the D team to on the first at senior level. Yeah,
it was... Even as a under 14-year-old, if you told me I was playing for the S, I would have bitten your hand off at that stage. I was just playing rugby because I loved it, I suppose. I just wasn't good enough to kick on at the time, but because I had that love for it, I suppose kept practicing, kept working hard, kept grinding at it, and eventually pushed on. And it's sort of been a bit of a long journey, a bit of a different route than most of the others, I suppose, even after school into the sevens and whatnot. So, I'd like to think that journey's benefited me and taught me a few lessons along the way to get me here.
What a stacked group you had in 2014, though. Caelan Doris involved in that team, Joey Carberry, Nick Timoney. Like, it's a star sort of group that all went on to play provincial rugby. Yeah,
it's great. Like, I know it's only Caelan in the squad at the moment, but having those lads, even Conor Oliver and Connacht, Gary Ringrose is in the year ahead of me and whatnot. So it's cool sort of coming up the ranks with those lads, and makes it a bit more enjoyable, and it's great to see them going so well.
You mentioned the sevens journey, and maybe if things had gone in a different direction, you could have been getting ready to go to France next year as opposed to this year for the Olympic Games after what the guys have achieved. You were one of kind of the OGs when I go back to 2017 with the men's programme getting resurrected at the time. You must be delighted for some of your former teammates who've now qualified for the Olympics this time.
It was brilliant to see. We were all in camp for the final against GB, and we were watching it together, and there's a great buzz. And as one of the older lads, in terms of watching a few of the older lads for the sevens who I played with was great. The likes of Terry, Brian Mullen, Harry McNulty. I know them all so well. They're good pals of mine, so it was great to support them. And I think my last tournament for the sevens was a qualifier for the last Tokyo 2020 Olympics. which got postponed. So it was cool to see sort of the next cycle as well. And you're a bit more invested in it watching them.
Yeah, like David Nucifor and Anthony Eddy were convinced that both the men's and women's programmes were worth investment at the time, and this would pay off fruit in the end. How much did it help you as a rugby player? Because like at the start of your Leinster career, you had to wait quite a while before breaking into the first team. I think you had like 6 caps before you basically became a first team player at fullback. You had that time at sevens. Did it help your skill set while you were focusing on sevens for that kind of 3-4 year period there?
Yeah, 100%. Like the opportunity wasn't there for me when I came into the academy. I just wasn't good enough at the time. I probably wasn't physically developed at that stage. So the sevens sort of suited me to go off, develop my game, my fitness, speed. And it's such a perfect game for a back player or back three player to do that. So did about 2.5 years with the sevens. And at the time when you're playing in those qualifiers for either the Olympics or to get on the World Series, they're as big as it gets for you. So you gain a huge amount of experience both on that sort of pressure side, but also the mental side of the game. So sort of had to bide my time then when I came back in with Leinster and sort of kicked on after the academy. Definitely think that the sevens was great for me, and it's cool that the likes of Jimmy O'Brien, Shane Daly, Rob Balakoon, Nick Timoney, loads of lads who I was on that squad with have sort of pushed on as well to provincial and Irish level as well.
Yeah, like it is good to see some of those old heads still around and doing as well as they are. Like Terry Kennedy has been one of the real revelations on the seven circuit over the last few years. I think he was in your same group with the 15s at 20s level as well. He was involved in that World Cup. Coincidentally, I think it was in South Africa that time around as well. So it's great to see him stick with the sevens programme pretty much from the start and get his rewards where he's going to be a double Olympian now next year.
Yeah, he's an incredible player. Like there's not many lads who can go off to Australia for 9 months and then stroll back into the seven side as he did, and to perform so well in those 2 tournaments for the side to qualify them. And he's a good pal of mine. So it's cool for him and loads of the other squad to be a double Olympian. To do it once is special enough. So a little bit jealous of him, I'm not going to lie.
Tell us about your own finding of consistency then, because by your own admission there, it's a road less travelled in a way that you found yourself in the 15 jersey both for Leinster and for Ireland, and you've been effectively an ever-present for the last couple of seasons for both teams in big games. What happened that kind of brought that consistency to your game then?
I'm not really sure. I suppose like from the minute I got into the Leinster side, minute I got into the Irish side, it was just about keeping yourself in there. And I suppose the way the schedule is packed at the moment, it's just big game after big game, whether it's European Cup into Interpros, into maybe Six Nations or Test matches that you don't really have a chance to let up. And there's so much competition in both Leinster and Ireland that if you do start getting a bit complacent, that there's lads right there waiting to take the jersey off you. So you just have to use that as a driving factor to push you on and to keep getting better. And I suppose the other side of things, probably the coaching that I've gotten, whether it's in Leinster with Stuart, or all the coaches in both camps, Ireland or Leinster, we're lucky to have them as well.
Are you going to miss Stuart Lancaster now that he's gone? Like a good replacement has been found for him now, but he feels like he's been such an important person as a coach on the field during his time at Leinster.
He's huge. Like it's funny, we would have chatted a lot about it over the last final few weeks in there, that me and Stuart sort of came in at the same time in 2016. Me as a first year academy player and him as the new coach, probably off the back of a disappointing England, I suppose, campaign. And he's been unbelievable for me in my development, and was sort of definitely over the last couple of years one of the reasons for my success. So very grateful for that. But the fact Nienaber is coming in as a new coach, he's obviously got world-class pedigree, and that's exciting too. So we're blessed with the coaches at the moment, thankfully.
Yeah, and I guess, look, it speaks about Leinster's ambition, doesn't it, that you go and get South Africa's coach to come in as part of the coaching ticket when Stuart leaves. It's one excellent person going out the door and one excellent coach coming in. Yeah,
100%. I was delighted to hear of the appointment. I think he's obviously one of the top coaches in the world at the moment. I suppose World Cup champions currently. I think he's it's an exciting prospect, and all the lads are looking forward to him coming in and putting his stamp on things and mixing it up a bit. I know the Leinster lads are in pre-season working hard at the moment, so I'm sure it's in their mind a bit more than a few of us in Irish camp, just worrying on what we can focus on at the moment.
Look, that work is going on in the high performance unit currently, but you mentioned already maybe some of the confidence that would have been taken from going to New Zealand, winning a series there for the very first time, picking up the Grand Slam this time around. Everyone wants to peak perfectly when the autumn comes around for the World Cup, but you guys have put in some very important performances over the last year and a half running into this World Cup.
Yeah, there's been a lot of highs and lows across the campaign, whether it's with Leinster or Ireland. So it's about, I suppose, using both as motivators, taking the learnings from the losses and I suppose the learnings from the wins as well to drive you forward. But we definitely know that there's a huge amount of time to the World Cup. Teams are training really hard. They're only going to get better over the next couple of months and weeks in preparation for it. So we're just focusing on what we can deal with and control and trying to improve ourselves, because we probably know that the standards that we've hit in the Six Nations or in the New Zealand World Series probably won't be enough to go on and win a World Cup, and how much more of a challenge that's going to be.
And realistically, if Irelanders do well at this World Cup, you're going to have to come through some big guns on that side of the draw as well. Like, even to have an improving Scotland team, to have South Africa, New Zealand and France all on that side of the bracket. Progressing in this competition is going to be hard fought. Yeah,
100%. That's the beauty of a World Cup, that you're just playing world-class team one after the other. So the pool stages is just going to be our focus for the moment. We know how much of a challenge it is with how strong of a pool we have. So we're definitely not getting ahead of ourselves, but looking forward to it at the same time.
And importantly for you, I suppose, staying injury free as well. You had a bit of an injury early on this season, but you were back in time for international duty. I think for every player now for the next 2 months, you want to make sure you're in as best a condition as you can possibly be.
Definitely. I think it's a good opportunity at the moment to get a few niggles right that are sort of hanging on from the end of last season, to put yourself in a better place going in. I think we've got a great medical department, great physios, doctors in Ireland, that they've come up with a good sort of plan for us to get our injuries right, but also to keep our health now over the next couple of weeks, because training's ramping up. It's getting tough, and you just have to not worry about those things, because if you're worrying about injuries, that's when they can start creeping in.
And on the final note for you, I saw Gary Ringrose, your club and international teammate, said today, no distractions about what's going to happen with Johnny Sexton's hearing, which is coming up in a couple of weeks' time. He's training away at the moment, getting ready for the World Cup. I'm sure you're hoping he's going to be available to play, and that he's going to be showing no ring rust after about 5 months of no rugby due to the injury at the end of the year. It goes without saying Johnny Sexton's a crucial player for you at the World Cup.
Yeah, exactly. He's an experienced head at this stage. So he's dealing with it well, and we know what sort of a leader he is and how important he is to the squad. So it's business as usual from our end. We're training away just as Johnny is, trying to improve ourselves and improve the team. So he's back fit and on the pitch, training away. So it's great to have him.
Well, Hugo Keenan is the new ambassador for Optimum Nutrition, nutrition sponsors to Leinster over the next 3 years. Hugo, thanks a million for joining us.
Cheers, Will. Thanks for having me.
And Rugby here and Off the Ball is with thanks to Vodafone. We're all in, the team of us.